Hello everybody, Origami Wizard Tim Rickman here to show you how to fold my sticky note stars. You don't have to fold them from a sticky note though. This one here is folded from a 8.5 by 8.5 square cut from printer paper. This tutorial is also for the Pentagon units for my modular origami Rhombicosidodecahedron. If you're folding these, you want to use 20 by 20 centimeter or larger square. Alright, let's get folding. For this tutorial, I'm going to use a sticky note because it's more difficult to fold, and I want to show you guys the technique I'm using. So you begin by folding it in half horizontally, and then fold each of those segments in half to make fourths. I find it's better to use cheaper sticky notes because the glue isn't as strong in those and it doesn't slow you down as much when you have to peel the paper apart like it does there. And fold each of these panels in half for eighths. One end, then the other. Reverse the central fold. Open back up. Again, just be careful when you have to peel these apart. Don't rip the paper. And fold each of these in half one last time for eighths. For this part, I like to fold 4 from this side and then turn the paper around and fold 4 from the other side. I find I get a little more precision that way. And you want to try to be as precise as you can. Really press down on each of these folds. I'm folding through it pretty fast right now, but you want to fold through, crease down firmly in each of these folds and really spend your time lining them up. It does make a difference during the construction of the model. Okay, now we're done with the 16ths on this side. Go ahead and open the model back up and fold in half horizontally now. And continue the same process on the other side with a little variation. For this next fold, I like to line the corners up because of the folds that we put in the paper already. It wants to bunch up. Sometimes it's hard to find these edges where they match unless you start from a corner. There. Eighths to one side. And the other. Reverse the central fold. the model back up. It's easier this time because all the sticky is on one half of the paper. And fold 4 from one side. Fan folding as you go. And 4 from the opposite side. I folded about 50 or 60 of these stars, and I've just found that this is the easiest way to fold a sticky note into a 16 by 16 grid. And the last. All right, now we have our 16 by 16 grid. Alright, for this next section you're going to create a column of diagonal folds that start from this top corner to a position of 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical folds toward the center from the edge, and 1, 2, 3 horizontal folds toward the center from the top edge. So 4 over, 3 down. Then you're going to follow the horizontal crease back to the edge and repeat that diagonal fold a total of 5 times on each side of the paper. You're going to be left with one row at the bottom that's empty. It doesn't have any horizontal crease on it. Find 3 down, 4 across. So I'm looking at this point right there. Make a sharp crease. Okay. Now follow the edge back and make the same crease below that, in that 4 by 3 rectangle below that one. So this diagonal ends on the same horizontal crease that this one starts on, and so on down the paper. By the way, these are Pythagorean triangles, meaning it's a 3, 4, 5. If you know about Pythagorean triangles, that may be something you're interested in. All it really means for us is that it's creating an angle that approaches a similar angle found in a pentagon. Okay, we've created 5 diagonal creases on the left side of the paper, and we're going to mirror that on the right. It's not quite exactly the same angle, getting back to what I was talking about a moment ago, but it's close enough, and because of the near proximity, we're going to end up with a tiny pinhole in the center of the model. You'll see later on, because there is a tiny variation, which I think is a really unique and cool aspect of this model. because it means you can use it to basically string like a bead or put an axle through it like a wheel. Maybe use this model as some kind of a gear in a paper machine. And so this diagonal that we're folding is exactly 5 units long, in reference to the units that we've created in our 16 by 16 grid. All right, I'm going to make these diagonals very sharp and make sure they land precisely in that corner. And we're done. We have our 10 diagonal folds. And we're ready to continue. All our pre-folding is done. And now we're ready to assemble the model. Okay. To start forming the star, the first thing you want to do is make a mountain fold on the 6th vertical crease from the edge toward the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Along this crease here. And then you're going to make a valley fold on the 4th vertical crease in toward the center, where all of your vertical or your horizontal diagonal creases end. Okay? And you want to repeat that on the opposite side. So 6 in, make a mountain fold, 4 in, valley fold. And then the model is going to look like this, looking from the edge. It goes 4 across, 2 back, 4 across, 2 back, 4 across. Now, lay the model down, and you're going to take these top flaps and fold them in half vertically so that their edges meet the center. And it makes a little track in the middle. This becomes useful when you assemble the Rhombicosidodecahedron as a place to connect the modular units. For this model, it's just going to create an edge for our star, give it some stability, some personality. Now, you've noticed that we moved the paper from this position and turned it. This is the edge with the extra row that was at the bottom. So you turn like this, and now flip it on its side and bring the two edges together like so. So it'll look like this now. You're going to take this mountain fold, fold this mountain fold at the same time. Let's see here. So this is going to be a mountain fold through your diagonal, and the vertical fold here is going to be a valley fold, and you're going to swivel that down. So it looks like this. Push this one down and that back, and it creates, you want to flatten it down, and it creates a small new crease down here at the tip. It doesn't actually get used for anything, but it's easier to demonstrate this next part if that's flattened down. You want to repeat that on the opposite side. Mountain fold, the diagonal, valley fold there. So your model will look like this now. All right, now we have to get this part of the paper out of the way for our next crease. So where this vertical crease meets the edge, I'm talking about here, where this vertical crease meets the edge right here, we're going to make a valley fold from there to the corner. Just fold that flap down. Roll the very end of it so it gets nice and precise, and you want to repeat that on the opposite side. These will become more difficult. The model is not going to lie flat for the rest of our construction, so it's convenient that that first one you can lie flat so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll have to kind of do the others free form. Alright, and now bring the two sides back together, and you'll notice now that the end here, you can pinch the sides together and push up here, and it creates our first angle of our pentagon. And you want to continue this process all the way down through the remaining 4. Make a mountain fold on the diagonals and valley folds, pushing some of the paper into the model, bringing the flaps together. Make sure everything is nice and sharp and your diagonals still meet at the exact corner here on both sides, otherwise your model will get a little off. Now look inside, and you're going to repeat that flap, only it's going to be a little more difficult because the model won't lie flat now. But there's a natural place where the paper wants to fold down. So start there and then roll the paper down like so. You don't want to pull this out too much because it'll undo the last one that you did. But you can pull it out just enough to get your fingers in to create that flap. And the reason we need to do this is to get the bit of paper here out of the way for this step. Repeat the same maneuver. Mountain fold the diagonals, valley fold the verticals, push some of the paper into the model. And these should line up more or less along a point in the very center. And if they're not, if there's too much space, like that perhaps, you want to see what's out of alignment, because they should be meeting up fairly close. It should just be barely a pinhole there. But this is looking nice and sharp, so we'll continue. It gets harder every time to make these, fold these flaps down, because there's more and more paper in your way. But it is not impossible. If you're having difficulty folding this model, I suggest using a larger piece of paper, printer paper cut into a square, or origami paper, any kind of paper. You could use a gigantic paper bag or butcher paper. Make a gigantic Christmas tree star or whatever. And then once you get very good at the technique of folding this, come back and try it with sticky notes. Now see, mine's gotten a little difficult. There we go. Just need to make sure you sharpen up those diagonal folds. And continue with this all the way up the side of the paper. Once more. This will be the last time we fold these little flaps down exactly like this. The next time it'll be a little different, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. I've been able to fold these in about 20 minutes, so you're definitely not going to be folding 100 in one night, but okay, this last one, you fold these exactly like you have before, but when you come to the end, you'll notice that you're able to then wrap the ends of the paper around the extra bit there and complete the pentagon shape. Now, to fold these last bits down, you want to fold this amount and fold and reverse the diagonal that we made in our 3, 4, 5 triangle. So push here, and it should want to hinge. Don't worry about this crease here. A new crease is created on this side. Just worry about reversing the diagonal fold and hinging on that. And these two edges should line up when you flatten this down. Just like that. You just inside reversed the tip into the model. It's just going to get in the way later. So the most convenient thing to do, open this up a bit, push here, that tip inside, reverse the diagonal fold. It doesn't have to be exactly precise. And now we're going to look underneath this flap. You want to make absolutely sure that you have these aligned like this, and you don't start to fold it like this. You want to have this pressed down so that this paper is folded down with it. Now, from here, it's going to look the same. We're folding down on that natural place where it wants to fold, but now we're going to fold to this very corner right here. See, it's a little different. We're not folding to the tip of the point, we're folding to that little space, and your flap's going to look like this now. Okay. Again, make sure that you fold this down first before you start to fold this over. Okay. All right, and if anything is out of alignment, now is a good time to take a break. No, take a paper clip and push anything back into alignment. If you're having trouble getting the model to align symmetrically now, just go ahead and unfold it and redo all the steps that you just did. It'll be easier this time because you basically pre-folded everything, all the little flaps and such. You just need to make absolutely sure that everything is in alignment. That's the only reason why it wouldn't be fitting nicely now, because it should. You should be able to press these flaps in now, and with little effort, just a little squeeze here and there, roughly make it stay in that pentagon shape. And you don't want to sink this flap yet. If you're folding the Pentagon modular units for the Rhombicosidodecahedron, you want to stop now. These flaps don't get folded in until the modular square band-aid shaped modules, the 5, get added around the edge on this outside edge. But if you're folding the star, we continue on. All right, so far I've shown you the quick steps for how to fold a sticky note star from a piece of paper that's about 4 inches by 4 inches to this smaller 2 inch by 2 inch size here. In a moment I'll show you how to fold from a larger square of paper. There's just a few extra steps in the crease pattern that help achieve this nice finished look, and I'll show you those in a moment. But for right now, we're going to move on with a smaller size sticky note, and this is my favorite step in the model. You can choose to sink this flap first, but I find it's a little easier if you do this first. We're going to squish all the corners. So I'm going to kind of support the model on the left side and squish down gently at first. You're just training them. And if you're holding this in your hands, you'll understand what I'm talking about. There's a smaller pentagon that's formed by a set of folds. You'll see in the center. Turn the model over and train it from this side as well. Just a little at first, and make sure that everything is forming nicely. You're bringing this, the top of this edge on the perimeter to that fold that creates that smaller pentagon in the center. I find it's a little easier to get this started first before I sink my final flap, because it raises everything up in the middle and it's just a little easier to get those in there. And I have an example here where I've drawn the center pentagon I was talking about in red lines. So you're bringing this edge to there, all the way around. And like I said, this just raises everything up in the center so that you're prepared for your next step, which is to insert this flap underneath mine didn't form quite as well. Sometimes this flap has a tendency to want to ride low. You just use a paper clip to bring it back up. So you're taking this flap and pushing it in between here and here, underneath everything else. So pull it back just a little. It's a little tricky. You're going to want to do this on both sides. At the same time, wrapping the rest of the paper around that extra segment at the end there. Once you have one side, you can use that pen hole in the center. Carefully go under one of the flaps with your paper clip and find the center. And now you can use that to press up from inside. Get everything squished down nicely. And now that you have one side done, you can turn around and attack the other side, making sure to aim underneath this panel, this flap, and above this tiny one on the side here, sort of using that to guide the flap in. Over the top here, sinking the tinier portion of the outside edge and wrapping the larger length around it. And then you continue shaping. Sometimes it kind of bunches up here in the corner. Just flatten that down a little. And with this smaller size paper from about 4" by 4" and smaller, you don't have to use any other pre-creases. If the paper is forgiving enough, it's squishy enough, where it'll form a nice shape without having to do the steps that you need to make this model look nicer with the larger. And I know that some of you will want to fold this star with the larger paper. And it's very difficult unless I show you the steps. So here we have our completed sticky note star. It takes about 20 minutes to fold once you get all the techniques down. Yeah, okay, we'll move on and I'll show you how to fold the larger. This is from about a 13 by 13" piece of tissue foil. All right. there are just a couple of variations when you're folding the larger version. In the crease pattern, you're going to fold an angle that goes from this corner to this corner in our rectangle, our 4x3 rectangles here. So you've made these, and you also want to make a tiny pinch that doesn't go all the way across. It just goes to this vertical crease, but it's going from this corner aiming toward this corner, like that. You don't fold this portion, just this here as a mountain fold. Here, 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 and here. And also it helps to find the tiny flaps if you pre-crease from this corner to the corner of this vertical crease and this horizontal crease here. So a length of 1 over and 3 up, or 1 over 3 down from this perspective. Here, 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 and here, and repeat on the opposite side. And that'll help when you're moving everything into position if you're using larger than 4" by 4" paper. All right. Okay, now I've pre-folded a 13 by 13 inch square using origami paper. So looking at it from the inside now. All the pre-folding is the same as the sticky note stars, except you have these short diagonal folds here. As I showed you previously on the crease pattern. And I'm going to show you real quick how to do those. These here are a little tricky. All you do is this diagonal fold is going to run across the very center of this vertical crease in the middle of our 3 by 4 rectangles. So you just want to curl the paper, and without pressing down, just find either side of that point and curl the paper and hold it there between your fingers, and then find this corner of your rectangle and gently press down. You don't have to crease very firmly until you find that first vertical crease. Okay, and you'll have the beginning of a line that should run from here all the way to your corner, a mirror image of this that you've creased all the way across. And you do those all the way down, and you also do these creases that run from this corner of your diagonal fold in the corner of your 3 by 4 rectangle, and it goes down until the bottom of the rectangle and this first vertical crease from the edge. So it travels a distance of 3 up and 1 across. And you do those 1, 2, 3, 4, but you skip this top one because remember that flap is a little different, and we don't need a pre-fold for that because it actually runs along the vertical crease that we've already made. So the difference here is that you only fold up one side at a time, and then you're going to press everything down, reaching through the top of the model. You're going to unfold it, fold the other side, press everything down, unfold, and then fold both sides as you did in the previous smaller version. So let me show you real quick. I'm going to fold this side first. So you make your mountain fold on the 6th crease in from the edge, and your valley fold along where the diagonals meet on your 4th from the edge. Do the same thing on the other side. Model will look like this from the edge. You basically have 3 layers on either side here, and then your flap extends on the other side. So 4 across, 2 back, 4 across, 2 back, 4 across. And then you fold these to the center. I've already folded this, so it's going to go a little easier for me, but you want to spend a little time adjusting this and making sure that your creases line up when you're folding that. It went easier for me because I've worked on this a little bit before. And you want to kind of train the model along every place that's going to have a crease where the pentagon is formed. Basically the horizontal creases in between all of your 3x4 rectangles. You want to pre-fold as valley folds. Give the origami a cylindrical shape just to train those creases to go the right way when you're ready to fold this down. And now instead of folding both sides, you're just going to fold one. So find the edge with the extra length, fold down, and fold that back. You don't have to press this down all the way. Once you get good at folding this, you're not going to need to do that anymore. Fold your flap down, stand this up, fold across, flap down, mountain fold, diagonal, valley fold to vertical, or horizontal rather. Fold down. Make sure that each of these isn't coming up, your flaps that you're folding down. One goes on top of the other, and if they come undone, just undo it, fold it down, and redo so that they're all laying on top of each other. It's a little frustrating to fold the larger version, but I know that some of you are going to want to tackle that challenge. You're going to want to put an origami Christmas tree star on the top of your Christmas tree or something. You're going to want to make a big one. So for those of you who want to see that, I'm showing you this now. But it is a little more challenging. The paper is a little more frustrating when it gets to this size. If you just tried to fold this and squish it down like you do the smaller ones, you would find that it does not turn out looking very nice. So this is the solution to that. Again, this side is standing up. You have all this folded the right way, the same way, but this all stands up so you can reach inside and press down. So I have one hand supporting it here, and I'm pushing down here inside of it, like I was reaching down into a can. And you're just folding the sides in exactly how you would. You get to here, push this down. Make sure that this flap is over. Just like that. And then this is a little tricky. Put this in between here. Sometimes this goes real easy. Sometimes it wants to be difficult. It won't work if any of your smaller flaps have come up like this here. Make sure that's down. Make sure that flap you just folded is running along here underneath it, or rather inside of there. Okay, that went a little easier than it could have. Press everything down. All right, now here is why we've done this. I have everything in there, and you're going to take a pen, a pencil. I find that something like this with an eraser at the end of it works well, or an unsharpened pencil if you really want to get the creases firm. And it looks exactly like it should from the outside. And you're going to start pressing in from behind, underneath, and pinching these corners in together. Very lightly at first. You're just training it to go the direction you want it to. creases are going to become valley folds, and this pentagon in the middle, they're going to become soft mountain folds. And you're bringing this edge to those mountain folds. It's a little harder unless you're pressing up from underneath. And you're going to do this from both sides, meaning when I'm done training the paper here, I'm going to unfold the whole model and I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side that's now open. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to unfold the whole model and fold it back together both sides. And that way, when I do this part I'm doing now, it'll all come together nicely how it is here. Let me finish what I'm showing you here. So we get this squished down so that you can position the model so that all the edges are more or less straight up and down, so that when you look at it, everything is shadowed by the face of the model, like that. And then you're going to turn it around and see now everything is flush. It should be flat against this edge, the face should. So set it down like this and take your pencil or your whatever and really press everything down into those corners. Every once in a while look at the face, make sure you're not messing anything up. You're training all these little flaps in a way that would just take longer to pre-fold to figure out where all these are, especially since every time you fold this you might choose a different thickness of paper, blah blah blah. This is the easiest way to train all these folds. You can even reach in with your finger if you use big enough paper. Okay, that's pretty good. Now you can see everything is nice and pressed down and it's flush on this side. These little corners, they kind of want to have an angle to them. You can do whatever you want with them. In the finished model, you're going to kind of pull all of these apart to give it more shape instead of having all of them flat like this. So go a little bit easy here. It's okay if there's kind of a divot or an angle there. I've really smushed them down here and you can see what that looks like, but here they're a little softer and that's fine too. So unfold this carefully. It helps to undo these first and then start from your break. Pull that apart, and then once you have room, reach in and start lifting up all the little flaps. You don't want to just pull it apart because you'll rip the paper, it'll make it messy. Just lift up all the flaps until it will release. Okay. Kind of flatten everything down so it's easier to stand this side up now. Do this side and then fold everything together. Just like you did with the smaller versions. Okay, so now both sides are there, and now to help, you can kind of use a paper clip now. If you tried to use this before, the paper was trained, it would just poke right through the paper, trying to apply as much force as needed to shape these the right way. But just go ahead and start forming it just like you did your other smaller sticky note stars. Maybe we'll call this a red giant. And if it gives you any kind of trouble, you can find the separation in the flaps, bring it over, find the center, and use that to kind of push things along underneath. But again, be careful, because you don't want to poke a hole through the paper. Otherwise it becomes kirigami. I have so many jokes that probably are funny to about 2 other people in the world. Okay. A little more manipulation of the paper, and we have a pretty nice looking pentagonal 5-pointed red giant star. And then of course you got all your little ones there. Hooray! Alright, this is the end of the tutorial video. I really hope you enjoyed this. Please fold as many as you like. Don't redistribute the instructions without my permission, because this is my model. But feel free to make as many as you like. Share them with your friends, give them to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your house plant. Put little love notes inside of them and tell people to figure out how to open it up, and then have fun putting it back together. Maybe that's what the note inside could say. Now you get to put it back together. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets other people know that it's a video worth watching. And I've got some exciting projects coming up here soon. Let's see if I can get this in the frame. If you remember me saying something about a rhombicosidodecahedron at the beginning of this video, this is that. And as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by my bloggy messaging me that I had no more memory space left. I've just showed you how to make the star, which is also the pentagonal unit for the rhombicosidodecahedron model. These are these shapes. And in the next video, I'll show you how to make these square band-aid shaped connectors, which would be these here. And in a third video, I'll show you how to assemble this whole model. But for now, thank you for watching Sticky Note Stars, and I'd love to see some pictures if you get a chance to fold this model. Come by my official Facebook page, Tim Rickman Origami at Facebook. Please subscribe there, and here as well. I make new advanced 3D origami all the time, and I post those videos about every 1 or 2 months. So be sure to come by and check it out often. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.